This is what I've been waiting on. American boxing, it's not like it used to be. We need somebody here and take over America.
One of the most efficient hunting machines in all of boxing.
大きな試合に向けてのここは通過点だと思っているので、本来自分が日本でその試合を
When you trace Naoya Inoue's rise, what you see is not just a fighter winning belts, it's a transformation of an entire sport's perception. Japan always produced skillful boxers, technical warriors who could compete but rarely dominate the global stage. The stigma followed them. Tough but fragile, stylish but not punishing. Flipped that story is what unsettles people most. He doesn't fight like a brawler, swinging wildly to prove toughness. He doesn't dance endlessly, looking to win on points. He fights like a surgeon with explosives in his hands. Every movement is minimal, every strike is exact, and the damage is devastating. Watching him is like watching a piano player whose keys break with every note. Take Adrian Hernandez, his first world title victim. Hernandez was seasoned, having fought in Mexico's brutal small halls where punches are thrown with bad intentions. He thought a young Japanese challenger would be another stepping stone. Instead, his ribs bent under hooks so sharp that his body language screamed panic before his face did. Inoue didn't just beat him, he dismantled him, showing the world that Japanese boxing no longer bowed to stereotypes. Then came Omar Narvaez. Remember, this was no ordinary opponent. Narvaez was an Argentine legend, unbeaten for years, a man who had defended his world title more than a dozen times. He had survived the assaults of Nonito Donaire, a Hall of Fame puncher. Yet when he faced Inoue, he was not just beaten. He was destroyed in 2 rounds. Narvaez, who had weathered storms for over a decade, could not survive even a handful of clean shots. Afterward, Narvaez admitted that Inoue's power was unlike anything he had ever faced, not even Donaire. That's the moment insiders realized this wasn't hype. This was history unfolding. And then came Jamie McDonnell, the tall British champion who sneered at Inoue's size. McDonnell's plan was to keep the monster at a distance, using his 6-foot frame like a wall. It never even started. Within 2 minutes, Inoue's hooks caved in his strategy and his confidence. McDonnell was left glassy-eyed, unable to answer the referee's count. Fans in Britain who had never seen Inoue before suddenly understood why Japanese commentators spoke his name in hushed reverence. The World Boxing Super Series was the true crucible. Inoue entered as a favorite, but still unproven against the very best. Juan Carlos Payano, a decorated Olympian with a reputation for durability, was supposed to test him. Instead, Payano didn't last 70 seconds. One combination, jab, feint, right hand, and Payano collapsed, unconscious before his body hit the floor. That night, arenas across the world replayed the knockout. Trainers stared at the replay trying to find the flaw, the tell, the setup. There was none. It was just speed, timing, and raw power, delivered with terrifying efficiency. Then Emmanuel Rodriguez. He had never been knocked down. He entered the ring smiling, undefeated, a Puerto Rican champion carrying the pride of an island known for producing warriors like Trinidad and Cotto. Inoue studied him like prey. Round 1, observation. Hooks to the body broke Rodriguez's guard, and by the end of the round, he was floored 3 times. His undefeated record was gone, his career momentum shattered, and his pride stripped in less than 6 minutes. It was at this point that whispers became fear. Fighters who once called out Inoue for attention began to avoid his name. Commentators began comparing him not to men in his weight class, but to all-time greats, wondering if this small, soft-spoken Japanese man was the most efficient destroyer boxing had ever seen. And then came the battle that proved his humanity and cemented his legend. November 2019, Tokyo Dome, the final of the World Boxing Super Series. Across the ring stood Nonito Donaire, the Filipino Flash, a veteran, a future Hall of Famer, and a man many believed was past his prime. But legends don't fade quietly. For 12 rounds, they waged war. Donaire cracked Inoue with a right hand that fractured his orbital bone. Blood streamed down Inoue's face, his eye swelling shut. For the first time, the monster looked vulnerable. But monsters adapt. He came back, absorbing punishment, firing back with surgical precision. In the 11th round, he landed a body shot so vicious that even Donaire, one of the toughest men in the sport, dropped to a knee, gasping for air. He survived, but the fight was won. Inoue proved not just that he could destroy, but that he could endure, bleed, and rise again. The monster was not invincible, but he was unstoppable. That fight was named Fight of the Year, and it elevated both men to immortal status. From that night on, Inoue's reputation was untouchable. He wasn't just feared, he was respected as the embodiment of violence and skill fused into one. He unified titles, moved up weight, and carried with him an aura so heavy that arenas fall silent the moment he lands his first punch. Outside the ring, though, he is quiet. He doesn't trash talk. He doesn't show off. He smiles politely, bows in respect, and trains with the discipline of a man who knows the world is hunting him. That contrast, the polite man and the violent monster, makes him all the more unsettling. Opponents who face him often confess afterward that it wasn't just the pain. It was the feeling of inevitability. They describe his punches as different, short, clean, and final. Champions who once thought themselves granite-chinned discover, in front of millions, that everyone breaks. The legacy is still being written. Will he conquer another division? Will he retire undefeated, the perfect predator? Or will some younger lion finally slay the monster? No one knows. But one thing is certain. In this era, in this generation, there is no greater symbol of boxing's raw, merciless beauty than Naoya Inoue. When you watch him fight, you're not just myths collapse and audiences gasp as the monster proves again and again that in boxing, fear has a face, and it wears the calm smile of Naoya Inoue.